This is great. You know, there's some things in life that just fit. And I think when you talk about football, Thanksgiving, traditional rivalries, and being there, that's a good fit.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
And happy Thanksgiving to you, and 20 great years, and we have it all again today. We have turkey legs, we have turkey, we have turducken, and we have the biggest thing, the tradition of Thanksgiving and football. Some things just go together greatly.
Perhaps no person loved Thanksgiving more than John Madden. After serving 10 seasons as the head coach of the NFL's Oakland Raiders, Madden began the part of his career that led him to be the most recognizable name in football. As the color commentator for NFL broadcasts for the next 30 years, Madden's love of Thanksgiving popularized the turducken, a deboned chicken stuffed into a deboned duck, stuffed into a deboned turkey. Following his death, the NFL now honors Madden every Thanksgiving. The entire tripleheader of games is dubbed the John Madden Thanksgiving Celebration. Despite winning the Raiders' first Super Bowl, never having a losing season, and having the most wins in Raiders franchise history, he is better known as the mind and voice behind the Madden NFL video game franchise. Instead of simply drawing up plays during broadcasts, he helped generations learn about football and how to use progressively more complex playbooks through gameplay. This week, we talk turkey, playbooks, CX, and football with friend of the show and Raider fan, Andrew Rios.
Welcome to Next in Queue, the podcast for contact center and customer experience professionals. Next in Queue is brought to you by Happy 2 Vision. Eliminate blind spots and see right through every conversation with Happy 2 Vision. Learn more at happitu.com. Now, here's your host, Rob Dwyer.
Happy Thanksgiving from me at Next in Queue and my guest, Andrew Rios. Andrew, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Rob. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm doing great. Excited about Turkey Day and little Football Friday.
Yeah. So let's talk just very quickly. It is Thanksgiving weekend. What does the Rios Thanksgiving look like? I know that you're at your mom's. Is this in preparation for Thanksgiving? What's happening?
You know, the real Thanksgiving kicks off on a Tuesday at about 4 when you jump on the freeway, and already committed to the next 10 hours of being, here we go, while the rest of the Rios pack rests warmly, slumberly in their seats there. I'm back in Vacaville, Northern California. I'm a NorCal guy originally. I'm at my mom's house. Thanksgiving is about, sports. So I wake up early. We're going to do a turkey trot. It's our third annual turkey trot down here as a family. Then we come back and, it's football time, right? We're watching football all day. My mom makes an amazing stuffing that's stuffed in the turkey. My dad likes to fry one, so we get the best of both worlds. And yeah, this year is going to be a pretty special one because we got a lot of Rioses coming in from all over California, so I'm pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. No turducken?
No turducken, but we will pay homage as the highlights go through the day. And one day I may try that if I ever host a Thanksgiving at my house, which I'll still enjoy being a guest there. Pro tip, be a guest as long as you can. I don't know about you, Rob. What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
I mean, we are hosting this Thanksgiving. And so the family is coming over here. My wife has already begun the preparations. The turkey is currently brining and will get in the oven early in the morning. There is at least one pie, I believe, already cooked, a pumpkin pie. I'm helping with an apple pie this year, so we'll see how that goes. My wife will be supervising, and under her careful direction, I'm sure I won't mess it up. So we'll see.
I love it. Since you bring up pies, fan favorite and always a surprise when I bring it through is I'll pick up a boysenberry pie. I love a good boysenberry pie for Thanksgiving, and There's a little mom and pop diner that's been doing pies since I moved to Vacaville when I was a wee little. And I love to get one of those every year and bring it in to match the pumpkin and the other stuff that comes in the apple.
That is a unique option. I will say, I don't know that I've ever had a boysenberry pie, if I'm being completely honest about it. I love, traditional apple pie. I love the pumpkin pie. My absolute favorite, although it's not a Thanksgiving kind of thing, is a lemon meringue pie. That's my jam right there.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So also there will be some football going on here in the house on the TV. And the last time you and I recorded a pod together, you were all in on Jarrett Stidham. I don't know if you remember that, but you said he was going to be the next Rich Gannon. That was a quote from you. And that explains why the Raiders have the worst record in the NFL this season. Perhaps. But I bring that up because you and I, despite our football teams being arch enemies, we are friendly guys when it comes to our football and what we can learn from that. So I want to talk to you today about playbooks. And playbooks are a very football thing. So let's start. When you think of playbook outside of just football, what comes to mind?
How do you execute something to get a specific result, right? At the end of the day, the steps it takes and how you execute something to get a specific result, right? A playbook for how you want to retain a customer, right? Playbook for how you want to troubleshoot intermittent internet connectivity, right? Because at the end of the day, the result is the same, right? I want to resolve that internet. I want no more internet connectivity, intermittent issues, right? Or I want to save that customer. The result's the same. How you go about it may be different in the type of game that you're playing, right? And that's how when I think about a playbook, when I think about play.
So I imagine that you've developed your own playbooks over time. And I say this, you also are a football coach, maybe not in the NFL, but you do coach youth football. So I imagine you've got playbooks there, but you've also got playbooks outside of football. So let's talk about some of the playbooks, some of your favorite playbooks, maybe that you brought with you from different organizations to new organizations, and maybe an offense or a defense that you've installed in those organizations.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think the documentation playbook, right? How we document something. And I have a phrase I use, and people who've known me know I like to say this all the time. I should create a shirt for it, but it's not documented, it never happened. Right. And then I follow that back up with, what are the facts? What do they mean? What are we going to do about it? So my documentation playbook, I take it back to elementary school, grammar school, whenever you're learning how to write a paragraph, right? It's about who, what, when, where, why, and then next step. So whenever I'm teaching someone about documentation, whether it's a high-end electric motor or an internet connection or a SaaS product, it's who contacted you? Great. Why did they contact you? Okay. What made them contact you? And then what did you do to resolve it? And then that's why I say resolving it could also be like, just what's the next step, right? I resolved it because I escalated it to the network operations center, or I resolved this case because I created a feature request for the product team. And all that just comes from your documentation playbook. That's the playbook we run. And that's how I'll teach. I coach it. It's like, this is all. So whenever something's missing in the play, because I forgot to document that. That's it. There you go. Now the play's complete. Touchdown, first down, you know what I mean? And sometimes plays are just designed also, as you know, let's just get to that first down. Then we'll get to the next one. Then we'll get to the next one.
Yeah, one of the things, that phrase, right, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. I have long held to that. And it is also true, not just in how we interact with customers. It's true with how we interact with the people that we're leading. So when we are coaching our people as to their development, being able to document the things that we talked about, what the next steps are, what those commitments are that they're going to do moving forward, those are things that need to be documented. as well. So all across the spectrum of the organization, there's an opportunity for documentation. And it is often the biggest gap when you get into an organization. You go, well, okay, well, how do we go about documenting things? I don't know.
I sent an email. I was like, oh. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So having playbooks is one thing, but when you come into an organization, you are, for instance, if you were to come into the Chiefs organization, you'd have this great winning culture. You'd probably be able to, fit in really easily and have a lot of
Yeah.
success. And if you are, for instance, in the culture of if you're coming into a team that maybe has been struggling, has cycled through some different leaders, and maybe has gotten rid of some star players recently. I'm not pointing the finger at any particular organization, but there is a difference to the type of plays that you can use, and there are personnel adjustments that need to be made, right? So what worked over here may not work over here. Can you talk about how you approach that?
Yeah. It's assessing the current state, right? Like, what caliber players do I have, right? I've been using an analogy lately. You're playing varsity football. Are you playing varsity football with experienced players, juniors and seniors? Or are you playing varsity football with some freshman players, a sophomore? That's going to, experience matters. So the level of experience. And I think that one of the phrases I like to use too is experience is a funny thing, right? You get it after you wanted it, but before you need it. So assessing the experience level of the team and then keeping the goal in mind and going, okay, based on this experience level, what preseason games, what reps do they have to get in order to make it to that first game and be competitive, right? It's also knowing as a coach going, we're not going to knock them out of the park right away, right? I use a bunch of analogies. I'm going to go from one sport to another, but we're not going to score. We're not going to score a touchdown right away. And you know what? We're not going to run, a 3-option reverse right away either. Why don't we just start with run right, off tackle, and make sure each player knows their role? So back to that, it's assessing, okay, I got these players in here. Do they know their role? Okay, let's come. Another term and play I like to use and bring into organizations is the back to basics playbook. Like, you know what? Got this big playbook. We're not winning. We're not even getting into half of it. Let's just go back to basics. Right? Sweep right, sweep left, dive right, dive left. Then we'll start making those intricacies, give them the experience of successes, give them the experiences of a failure, missing a documentation, making a customer unhappy, not providing a thorough update to management. Those experiences that then, when it's time to play in that varsity game, right, that CIF championship game, that Super Bowl game, they've had that experience of the failure before. They've built it before. And again, it goes back to that experience phrase that you just came to me. It was like, it's a funny thing, man, that you get it after you wanted it, but you get it before you need it. And I think I embrace that a lot in my career. So I take that into organizations when I go in there, and that's how I like to run my plays, back to basics. And the best thing about that is once the team starts hitting those plays, right? Once the FCR is where you want it, right? Once your KPIs are where you want it, then you can start doing what management leadership want, those stretch goals, right? Okay, now let's shave 5 points off this. Let's do another point on retention. Can we get another 2 points on NPS? Maybe we can, now that we know, because we're running these plays, we can do this now. And then this is the key too, Rob, is giving the players an opportunity to run those plays, and then ad hoc when the time comes and be comfortable with it. Say, you know what? This isn't supposed to go left, but I've done this enough to know, you know what? This time I'm going to just do right button hook because I'll be there. And Rich Gannon is going to drop me the ball.
I mean, he's not. He's retired. He's going to be sitting on the couch like the rest of us watching football this weekend. But I love that we're talking about the basics, right? And there is a phrase borrowed from football that is used in business all the time, and that's basic blocking and tackling. And it is all about just doing the very basic things well gets you so far. And then adding on those wrinkles, right? Maybe doing some advanced things can absolutely take you to the next level. But I think where a lot of companies fall down is they forget about the basic blocking and tackling, and they're worried about these high-level plays, schemes, techniques, but the basics, like, we haven't got that down, guys, right? I mean, you can't even run off tackle if you're not blocking, right? You gotta do that first. And so I love the idea of sometimes you just need to take a step back, understand where we are, and we may have to start at the very basics before we can do something much more complex. But that said, let's talk about introducing those new plays. Like, when do you decide, okay, we're doing really well here, let me introduce something else? Is it once I've mastered kind of the last thing, or do you start layering things a little bit sooner than that? How do you approach that?
Yeah. Always be layering. Always be layering. So setting the stage for what's coming next, right? One of the things that is like, as great leaders, we want to be looking around corners, not just a corner, but corners, right? Is coaching as we're giving those players the plays, the team members, hey, think about this in the future. Then think about this in the future. An example is, we're building we're improving our SaaS product where we offer referrals, right? Okay, so we got a good referral program. Awesome. But what is a referral program? It's just a code that gives someone something based on what that code says. It could easily be a promo. It could easily be this. So now, instead of building this play for this one referral, build the program and then give those examples to them so that they can keep seeing. And that's my strategy, is just keep seeing the next step, keep seeing the next goal. Hey, you're going to, I use the phrase of eventually once they plateau and go, oh, now I know how to get to the next one because I know what the next one looks like, right? That's kind of how I like to do it. And just real examples, real examples. So when we're troubleshooting a wireless connectivity issue with the customer, right? But then we're starting to diagnose that maybe there might be an anomaly in the firmware of this router, but where we don't have a bug logging process, but you know how to document, that Coach Rios has been talking about, we need this process. That's how I see that I'm doing my job right. When the player intuitively, with initiative and autonomy, says, wait, you know what? So now I'm just going to take the stab at documenting this process. So kind of all those things lead into that. And that's kind of my approach to it, is take the vision and literally show the examples and then let them walk right into it.
As we sit here and talk now, I can hear the family in the background. Makes me think about balance and some of the challenges that come around with that. So right now, my assumption is you're all smiles, you're getting all of your family together. But for other people, that gathering of family members can layer on a lot of stress. I've got my work. Not everyone gets all the time off around the holidays, right? There are people who still have to work, even if it's Thanksgiving Day sometimes. Talk to me about how you help manage through the need for balance, both in a personal life, in the professional life, and particularly as we get to this time of year where we're starting to see holidays and more family interaction.
With a very humanistic approach, being I've been there before, right? I've been there as not someone who knew how to balance well. I've been there as someone who was in transition. I've been there as someone who was employed. I've been there as someone who had to go across the country to see family, and also knowing that family is what's more important and what makes people tick. And you said something there that's crucial too, is that there are people that still have to work that day. Customer service individuals still going to have to work that day. Some network operations centers, critical industrial jobs, airport workers, service industry. We could go on and on that are working that day. And I've been there. I've been in the service industry. I had to work on Christmas Day, right? So leading by example first, is, hey, if I'm off, but I'm going to check in with you just personally. Hey, how you guys doing today? You know, a good example, my team over at Cityside Fiber today, we got a skeleton crew working in an office, taking care of those customers. You know, I'm going to do a simple thing is just taking care of their lunch today. And then if everything dies down, let's get them out of there early today. You know, we got our after hours service that can take those calls for us. So kind of balance it that way. Also ask, and this was actually our team meeting last week. What are you doing for the holidays and what gets you excited about it? That was the topic of the meeting. So instead of Andrew and the team talking about our customers and this and that and all those things, it was, let's talk about what we're looking forward to. Like what we opened up about, like, what are you looking forward to? Those things. And then really caring and following up on that, right? And saying, hey, how did it go? Did you enjoy it? You know, making sure that it's purposeful and you mean it. It's not just an air clap or I have to do this because I have a manager in my title. No, it's, I care. I want to know what's going on. And then I like to do little things too, coming around this type in the year, because you said something there too, which especially in customer service, right? The world that we live in is we're dealing with so many people coming into our phones, into our support channels, and we're a human there trying to give our best effort, but we got a lot of things going on too. So usually around this time of year, I try to lighten the load. So from a professional standpoint, I try to lighten the load. We got 30 days left. You know, we achieved our goals and objectives. I'm not going to pile on a new one to try to cram the year out, right? I'm not going to say, let's go crush the queue. I'm going to say, let's refresh, let's re-energize, let's button up this last project that we wrapped up on. I'm thinking about the new year though, right? But not for them. I'm thinking about the days where we're not as busy. Like, what can I do? Maybe throw a work from home day in there. Maybe throw a little free time in there. You know, maybe put a movie on the TV. Thinking about those little things, the coffee runs, the whatnot. And then also around this time of year, what I also usually do at the end of the year for some team members is not some, but all of them is little quality time with their family. So one of the things that as we're serving other people in the customer service support world, we're not able to serve our family and our friends as much as we might want to. So around this time of year, you know, a gift card to take their loved ones to a movie. Or if they enjoy, you know, ice creams, then give them a gift card for something like that. Something that's more, hey, we know while you're helping our customers and our company grow and be successful, there's another team out there that's the number one team that you're not able to give as much. So here's what we can do for you. Yeah. Give time. Just give the gift of time, right? Just give the gift of time.
It is easy for people in certain roles to forget how stressful it is when you are working front lines, whether that's in customer service or retail. I know that Black Friday is around the corner. People, in fact, if you're listening to this on the day of release, it is literally Black Friday. Maybe you're headed out and you're shopping. There are people there working to support you, some of whom maybe didn't get much sleep, have been working overtime to get things stocked and are dealing with potentially some craziness in crowds. And I think it's incredibly important for all of us to take a moment to think about how thankful we should be that, number one, those people are there and they're taking their time, maybe not necessarily by choice. That's kind of the role that they're in sometimes. Maybe they don't really want to work Thanksgiving, but they show up, right? And so for you to do the things that you want to do on that day requires other people to show up and be at work to serve others. So there's that piece of it. And then I think just being thankful that we have people that are willing to miss, Thanksgiving. I remember when I was working retail, Thanksgiving, I was good with working that when I was in college. It was great. It was not super busy, but there's always, right, the flip side to that. And not everyone has that same experience. So just being thankful that people are still serving in that environment, I think I would like to encourage all of us to go into this holiday season with that mindset.
Spot on. Thanks for bringing that up, because one of the things that I do consciously and extra is say thanks to the folks that are out there. I have a tradition when I still kind of go shopping in the mall around Christmas. I go to the Cheesecake Factory to get the pizza bread Caesar salad lunch special. It's a thing I've been doing for 20 years. Don't ask me. I enjoy it, but I'm extra grateful to them there. I may give them an extra shilling here and there, but I'm extra grateful to anyone that's there, even opening the door, shoveling the snow, stocking those shelves that never stay cleaned. And, and even if I notice that someone is being not as nice as they can be to the people that are serving us, I let them, hey, don't let that person get to you. You're doing great. Thanks for being out here today. And that right there, people appreciate and enjoy. It's for someone who's, like I said, I had to bust a table on Christmas Eve. I've been there before. So being aware of that and being just purposeful and then showing that gratitude is awesome, is the way to be.
Yeah, it's often forgotten. And I think that is one of the reasons that we celebrate Thanksgiving. Ideally, it's not just for the football and it's not just for the food. Those are big parts of it from a tradition standpoint, but really just being thankful about the things in our lives, about our families, and the opportunity that when we do get the time to spend time with them. You talked about the gift of time. Like anytime you can get that, there is a time when you're younger in life where you may not be as thankful for it, but believe me, there's a time later on where you're really truly thankful for every day, and this is a good reminder to express that.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about player development. I brought up Jarrett Stidham when we got started a little bit in jest, but I think football is actually a great metaphor when it comes to player development, because guys, and they are guys in the NFL, they're not always guys in our business environment for certain, but guys coming into the NFL straight out of the draft, a lot of times they're a project, right? There are certain guys that you just go, well, no, we're going to bring them into the organization, but they are a project. They are not a Pro Bowler yet. They are certainly not all pro. Tell me about how you go about player development in your teams, and maybe share with me some lessons that you've learned over time as it comes to players.
Yeah. A lesson I learned over time, I'm going to start with that one, is don't be afraid to have a hard conversation, a radically candid conversation. And that could be, it takes me back to a time when I was at Fitbit with an up and coming star, started as a coordinator, made their way to program manager, and is now running a program management team over at Sony. Awesome development, right? I asked the question during a conversation when we were working on a project together, and I knew that I could ask this question to this individual at this time based on our relationship of radical candidness, and she was ambitious. She gave her best every time. She was hard on herself, right? There was a miss in one of the meetings where she got a little bit intimidated by someone with a bigger stature and title, right? And got overwhelmed and kind of caved. It happens to all of us, right? She took it, very, very tough, right? Because it was impactful. It was devastating, right? Like, wow. She took it as, I let you down, Andrew. I let the team down. I let us down. I love that. You build on that, right? That's like, you'll take that over raw talent any day. So back to what I was saying, can't be afraid to have a crucial conversation. I remember this like it was yesterday, sitting in that conference room here in San Francisco saying, do you want to be great? Do you want to be great? And she, tears, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I felt that. And I was like, okay, you're going to remember this moment. This is a moment in time that you learn from, because and then this is where I just go into, you were right. You had the data, you had the facts, you had it documented. You just let an outside factor that they're going to happen from here on through the rest of your career, they're going to happen, change the way you approached it and stifle you, right? And I'm paraphrasing, but can't be afraid to have that tough conversation, and then I think there's another approach too, which is you got to know your players and know when to have the tough conversation, right? Another situation, someone made a horrible miscalculation and basically announced an up-and-coming product to the world through our beta testing program by just hitting the wrong button. Person was devastated, came to work thinking you're going to fire me. Like, this is obviously a fireable offense. Like, obviously I'm not going to be working here anymore. She shows up to my desk here and starts going, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And she just goes in and then she went into, but I thought of something. If this feature would be there, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So she came with the solution. So after all that, and I just listened. And then I looked at her, I could tell she was very emotional about it too. And I said, hey, let's go for a walk. And we just took a walk down San Francisco. We walked for 15 minutes talking about, hey, how's your grandma? I knew her grandma was under the weather, this and that, just to kind of calm her nerves and get her, because she had already solved it, right? She had already there was nothing for me even to coach in that matter. But what I was coaching was how to handle that situation, right? And then I remember she was telling me like, hey, you're doing what my mom does to me before she scolds me. I go, I'm not scolding you. You did something wrong. Okay. You acknowledged it. You have a solution for it that is actually feasible. Then I'm just going to simply tell you, go work with the vendor, see if we can implement that. That's a feature that's now a main feature in their product 15 years later. Right. And she's over at Google now running a team as well. And that's player development. So knowing when to have a crucial conversation, not being afraid to have it. And also, and there's more examples, of course, I can go into, but that's for another podcast, another day, is that there's also the development of it too, when you're coaching them up and you're like, hey, you missed on that. And you got to know when to say, you clearly missed. I need you to tell me why. Because if it's documented, you've been trained, you acknowledged it, you help me understand what else I might be missing, because this conversation is about to switch into another path now. So that's the player development too. And it's also seeing their genius, right? I think one of the things that I like to look at, as a humble brag, is that I love identifying superstars, right? Like, hey, that person's great. They're awesome. But that person right there, when the game's on the line, that person wants the ball. They need the ball. They crave the ball. And that's kind of, as I'm building and assessing teams, I'm looking for those things. And then you can figure out how to get the best out of that, right?
Lot of great stuff there. And I love that. Look, those tough conversations, one of the things that you just illustrated is sometimes a tough conversation doesn't need to be as difficult as you think it's going to be, right? If you've created the kind of culture where people, number one, recognize when they messed up and come to the table with a solution, I don't have to get on you, right? And you see this in all kinds of teams where someone says, that was me, I messed up, I know why I did it. And you don't have to, as a leader, have a conversation with them about it, really, other than to reassure them that we understand where you are right now and we're confident that you're not going to make that mistake again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a really incredible place to be. It's not always, look, we all wish that we always had superstars like that. And the misses were those kinds of misses where they're like, I fixed it, don't worry about it, it's not going to happen again. That certainly isn't always the case, but it is something that you need to be aware of, that you can allow to happen. And sometimes it's just a matter of shutting up and letting them.
Exactly. No, exactly. And that took me a long time to learn as a leader. I wasn't born with that. I didn't get the handbook that said, here, Coach Rios, this is how you're going to communicate with people. Listen, no, it took time. And, I thank all those employees earlier in my career that had to deal with me learning that. Right? So, but it's a gift, right? It's a gift when you can start to master it, I would say. Start to master it.
Well, as we're talking about gifts, I want to ask you, Coach, what are you thankful for this year?
Man, my family, and my family. I'm going to, it might sound cliche, but if you know Coach Rios, my family, and being able to see and being at a part of my career, and my journey where I'm able to spend quality time with my kids, my partner, where mentally, mindset wise, probably 15 years ago when I didn't have my kids or my family, I wouldn't have thought that, right? At all. It would have been, I'm going to work, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to keep. Where now, I'm going to take time off and I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to watch my son, right? And fam. I think so. I'm grateful for opportunity and experience that I've had to have that mindset that it really is family first. And that is the greatest currency, right? I tell people a lot, when I talk to them, coach, mentor, whatever it may be, is like, yeah, maybe 10 years ago, I made a lot more money. But you know what? I'm richer now with the time that I have to give and what I have. And then you know what else I'm thankful for is I'm thankful for the amazing concierge team at Cityside Fiber that I get an opportunity to lead every day. They're a great group, a great support team, living great values, doing great work. So, thanks for allowing me to be part of the team and lead you all. And I'm really grateful for them. Been there about 9 months and we're doing some tremendous work and they're tremendous people. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
I am grateful that you have taken the time to join me. We have actually been going back and forth on this episode for quite some time, battling through some illnesses and some technical challenges. And yet here we are. And I'm grateful that you've taken time out of your day that you are sharing with your family to chat with me, to chat with the audience, and even take a little bit of ribbing about those horrible Oakland Raiders. They're not even in Oakland anymore. They've been just kicked out of the city, I guess. But that's fine. They do have a beautiful new stadium, and it's everybody's favorite road game now because you can go to Vegas, baby. Why not? Vegas. So next year will be better. Maybe you'll find a quarterback and you can be grateful for that next year. But this year, I'm grateful that we can chat and I can give you crap about it. You're a good sport. And I am also grateful that you and I have been able to create this kind of long distance friendship. I always love chatting with you. Yep. You are so generous with your time and your insights. And I know that extends to anyone who's out there listening that wants to get in touch with you, maybe would like to learn something from you. I know you've done some master classes out there and you're always sharing. So if people want to get in touch with the coach, go down to the show notes, find the link to his LinkedIn, tell him I sent you, tell him what fan you are in the NFL world if you are a fan. And if you're a Raider fan, he's going to love you for it. And if you're not, he'll still love you anyway because he's just that kind of guy. So thank you. Thank you for being here too.
No, man, thank you. And you said something there too that's awesome. Birds of a feather, if you will, right? You're a big sports guy and you rib me, but you rib me good, truthfully, honestly, and factually, and I love it. And I have to respect the Chiefs, right? I don't have to like them. I don't have to really like them at all, but I have to respect them for the way they built that organization and what they've done. That's leadership. That's consistency. And as a Raider fan, that's what we're hoping to do. We've been hoping for about 25 years now. And what I'm hoping is that we keep lighting those candles and it's going to happen soon. But worst case scenario, I'm just going to take the Raider team on the road now for more road games for me because I've been to Allegiant. So maybe I'll be coming out your way, Rob.
If you are, you let me know.
For sure. Awesome. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Next in Queue is brought to you by Happy To and is produced by me, Rob Dwyer. If you enjoy this podcast, please by all means subscribe and or rate this podcast in iTunes or your favorite podcast app. But more importantly, please tell just one person about this podcast. Word of mouth is the best way for people to discover new content. As always, thanks for listening.